Introducing the three sounds of ED is not as simple as you may expect. Because there are three different sounds, students and teachers find this to be a confusing concept. Most often, you will need to introduce one sound at a time and space out the sounds. So, for example, you may start by doing ED says id after the letters D and T, and then go and teach other concepts to allow this skill to become solidified before moving on to the second sound and then mixing the first and second sounds together to see if they can apply it in both situations before moving on to the third sound. While doing trace, copy, cover, avert, I would have students trace the letters ED and say, ED says id after D and T. When they move on to the second sound, they can do ED says D after a voiced sound, and then ultimately ED says T after a voiceless sound. There are many spelling considerations while teaching this suffix. For example, your students may need to know drop the E when adding a vowel suffix, but they may also need to know other sounds. So if you look in the first column, which is all that they would be doing when doing the first sound, you may want to start with simplistic words like plant and make it planted, or land, changing it to landed. However, the last two words in the column require knowing things like drop the E when adding a vowel suffix, as well as CVC words double before a vowel suffix. When introducing ED says D, your student definitely will need to know what a voiced consonant is, and as you can see, you can add in more complex skills like vowel teams and dropping the letter E when adding a vowel suffix. Ultimately, ED says T is the most complicated of the three, and for sure the most difficult for your students to hear. Don't be surprised if they put the letter T at the end of the word when you dictate ED says T words. In hushed and marched, frequently students don't pronounce the T. If you look at a word like stoop, P is voiceless and it's also a stop, as is the T. So putting two voiceless stops side by side is by far the most complicated to do. Just remember to space these skills out and have your students practice conjugating verbs so that they can practice doing things in the past, the present, as well as the future.